Today I would do a composition of Kabir because uh, at this time of lockdown, there was no other option but to introspect, as I said, but to go inwards, and to see and connect with the real you. Who are you, and what do you stand for? Because there was no outward, there was no outside, there was only inside. So, this is a beautiful, I'm sure many of you know this piece, and I'm not going to explain the piece because it is self-explanatory. And the music has been done by Srimati Sudha Raghuraman, and it has been sung by K. Venkateshwaran. So I'm going to share the screen so that you all can listen to the music better.
कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो यही है गुरु हमारा, यही है गुरु हमारा, यही है गुरु हमारा।
एक बार क्वेश्चन से thank you so much. How do we take the questions? I really don't know if there are any questions. I'd be very happy to take the questions.
One question. Asking what was your dance with contemporary art all about?
Okay, what was my dance with contemporary art all about? A good question. Firstly, the fact is that I don't collaborate with people whom I really don't know, because the process of working has to be somewhat on the same page. And Arpana Kaur was an artist in whose space or in whose institution I was teaching for many years before I had my own studio. So I used to see her work, and she was a very, very hard-working artist. So one day she had just put up one of the paintings, new works, and it was a woman who was trying to put her foot out of a square. And I saw that work, and a whole choreography had come into my head, and I knew what exactly I wanted to do with juxtaposing that work. So I just went to her and requested her if she could share a high-res image. I used it on stage, and I did a work which was quite amazing, because you saw that particular painting, and the entire choreography was in my head, and I knew what I wanted to do, and it was about women.
Rajesh Rohanji is asking, when you're in the phase of transition, how do you experiment in rhythm articulation that goes against orthodox tradition?
Rajesh Purohitji, thank you for that question, because orthodox rhythm traditions are very set, and if you have a jati, the way it's recited, it is normally danced. You know, you don't have so much of counter rhythm. The way it is recited, that is performed. But I think today, when we are transitioning into more complex use of rhythm, because the stage is large, and you have today the challenge of rhythm has become more demanding and people love to see rhythm, it has become a very important component, more important than what it used to be earlier. So we use a lot of counter rhythms. That is the transition, because it could be a traditional jati, but you change it by bringing in complexities. Or today, what is happening is many of the jatis are not the traditional jatis which were created by Natuanas or by dance teachers. They are rhythm patterns created by mridangis or percussionists. So I think I have a problem with that, because I feel the mridangis creating a percussion, a jati, is very different, because he comes from a space where the intricacies are different, because it is what you play on a drum. It is not what you can translate on the foot of a dancer. So that is a problematic thing. But I think a dancer who understands that will ask the mridangis to alter it. That's what we do. We also use complex rhythm patterns now, which are out of the pale of necessarily the traditional Bharatnatyam vocabulary. You do use that, but we tweak it so that it lends itself to dance, and the visual vocabulary cannot be compromised. And I am very particular about the feet being able to translate most of the bowls. Today, there's a lot of cheating in terms of, the percussion is playing something very, very fast, and the feet really not doing anything. But in the traditional thing, that was never allowed. You had to translate every nuance on the feet. So yes, there is an issue there, and I have negotiated it in my own way, because I think my sensitivity to rhythm has come from my two teachers, Swarna Saraswati Amma and Dakshinamurthy sir, and the balance between rhythm and abhinaya, or the expressional thing, has to be seamless, and it has to transit easily rather than sections just staying apart.
This other question is, how do you teach Indian aesthetics?
How do you teach Indian aesthetics? I think aesthetics is something that I feel cannot necessarily be taught. You have to live in it. My studio I've created is a labor of love, where you have color, texture, shape, form, music, of course, teaching of dance. You have the best of books, library. So I think everything for every sense is here. But again, the patra has to be good. There are some children who notice and take that, some who don't. But aesthetics in terms of dance and movement is very, very particular here. I'm very particular about it. And I feel the whole persona of the teacher, I won't say guru, none of us are gurus, we are teachers, acharyas, I think is a role model for the students. And aesthetics come out of the way the teacher moves, talks, dresses, that impacts the child. So I think aesthetics is a felt emotion, and I do take them a lot on trips. I make them see, read. So I think it's an acquired thing from all over. Unfortunately, we don't live in those kinds of traditions, traditional homes or traditional things where aesthetics is inbuilt in anything that you see around. But it's a difficult task, I agree, because the modern aesthetics is on the lack of it is so strong that to counter it, one needs to give a very strong alternative and try and tell them that this is also possible. And old utensils which were thrown away by lots of people find fresh uses here in this studio. And shapes, lamps, everything here is about aesthetics. It's about proportion. It's about touch, feel, smell. I keep camphor here, which purifies the space. So I think all this has to be experienced. Aesthetics has to be experienced. So I feel it is experiential rather than picking it up from lectures and from books.
I think the last question from Sonali Chopra. Which project or performance is the closest to your heart and why?
Which project is closest to my heart? Uh, I recently did Anekanta, which was from a Jaina philosophy, and a friend of mine, Sudha Reguratan, wrote a book on this philosophy, and I was asked to dance for her book release, and that's when I discovered this fabulous, beautiful concept. And the moment I read that chapter, I knew I had to translate it into dance, and that changed my life. Anekanta is multiple realities, and that there is no absolute truth, and it's something that can change from different prisms you watch it. It is different from different perspectives, and all of them are equally valid. I think in today's day and time, this we need to realize. It's not about, tolerating somebody, accepting somebody, but loving somebody and bringing everybody into the fold of your life. So Anekanta was a beautiful process of creating it and a lovely process of performing it. We are missing not performing it now because it was a 2-day work. One day I performed solo, various aspects, taking various aspects of Anekanta into. This is for me, I think, tradition and transition as far as I can get. I feel because it was 2 days. One day was solo and the other day was group, and it was a challenging work, but a work very close to my heart. As all my students know, they all love it too, because we explored Anekanta through rhythm, through music, through story. So it was very, very exciting, and that's, I feel, the work that. And when you get a concept which changes your life, I think, yeah, it's very nice. So I think that was the last question we are taking. So I'd like to conclude with a Mangalam. Vanamali Vasudeva Jaganmohana Radha Ramana. Vanamali Vasudeva Jaganmohana Radha Ramana. Shashivadana Sarasijanayana Jaganmohana Radha Ramana. Shashivadana Sarasijanayana Jaganmohana Radha Ramana. Jaganmohana Radha Ramana. Jaganmohana Radha Ramana.